the states. I'm going to speak as a parent and an advocate. There's so many people that will tell you the inappropriate. I can play Common Core bingo all day long. I know all of the buzzwords that's wrong with it. Okay, but what I'm going to tell you as a parent advocate, we are going to continue to refuse. Okay, 250,000 this year, 228,000, whatever you want to call it. We're going to double that this year. We're going to keep having forums. Okay, we're going to educate the public. We're going to hand out flyers. We're going to talk to anybody that'll listen. And we're going to keep bringing the refusals on until you do actually listen. This is second round for most of us. Most of the teachers, they're under gag order. Nobody will admit it. Do a survey after the meeting at the bar or at the dinner or something. They'll tell you the truth. Okay. We're going to keep refusing. We're going to out the people who harass and retaliate against the refusals, from keeping cupcakes away from children to suspending them, for looking at them crosswise in a refusal room. We're going to keep outing them. We're going to join Facebook groups. We're going to do everything possible. And I believe you will see 500,000 refusals this year. Okay? And there will come a point where instead of refusing, you're going to see 700,000 that just fill in the bubbles for fun. And we will destroy your test. If you don't listen, we're going to hide behind every tree, and we're going to come at you from every direction. We're going to pass resolutions. Okay? We got how many right now in New York State out of the counties, 62 counties? Does anybody know how many resolutions we've passed? We're going to go after the school board members who hold an oath to uphold the Constitution. We're going to go at it from every angle until this is gone. Okay? I got 48 seconds. I'm done. Thanks, guys.
Woo!
Good evening. I'm going to use my teacher voice because that's very uncomfortable. Okay. The Common Core is more than poor implementation and over-testing. It is a set of standards not written or approved by practitioners, by experts in the field of child development, ELA, or math. Though the standards claim to focus on what is most essential, they ignore the needs of students, most especially the special ed and English as a second language students. And because we teach what is tested, only a fraction of what is included in the standards is actually even taught. We have lost our core in search of commonness. We have sacrificed engagement for rigor. We have sacrificed literature and narratives for writing within the four corners of the text in a cut-and-quote voiceless form. We have eliminated the need to understand anything beyond the gist, and context has been abandoned for close reading. We have set aside learning for learning's sake, we have set aside learning for learning's sake for college and career readiness. David Kollmer, an architect of the Common Core standards, not so eloquently stated that, quote, people don't give a shit about how you feel and think, end quote. Perhaps if we were less concerned if a student could formulate a contrived, timed argument from a set of hand-selected documents and more concerned with each other, we would better prepare students for life after their formal schooling. We have sacrificed creativity, imagination, experimentation, and innovation for a false belief that we will have a well-trained workforce. We have forgotten the purpose of education is far greater than being ready for a career or for college. We must help prepare children to grow to be happy, healthy, contributing citizens. We must help children realize life is hard work. We must help children tackle the unexpected curveballs of life with civility and empathy. We must help children cope with the extremes of their everyday realities, their moments of unbridled joy, and their moments of crippling tragedy. And we must help children realize nothing is guaranteed, and sometimes life is simply not fair. And despite all of this, we must be nice, we must be kind, and we must be our best selves. A magic potion of copywritten standards designed to make a few rich while proving public education is failing does not accomplish these important lessons. We are requiring children to stay within the box, to be compliant followers, shackling our future leaders, entrepreneurs, scientists, musicians, nurses, inventors, just to name a few. We need better curriculum equality throughout the state and the country. We need meaningful accountability for students, teachers, and schools. We need to demand the consistent best effort of all of our stakeholders, our families included. We must return education to the hands of those who know what is best for children, our families, our teachers, our schools, our communities. I apologize for going on. I'm going to take his time. We must abandon the notion that Common Core and all its insidious tentacles will improve our educational system. As Sir Ken Robinson said, we have to personalize education, not standardize it. Though long overdue, we must accept the reality that we ignorantly embraced a set of faulty standards, nearly sight unseen, believing we had found the magic beans of education. We must now be courageous enough to do the right thing. Common Core does not need to be tweaked. It needs to be terminated.
Woo! Go, Kathryn!
Ms. Martina, Ms. Compton-Spillane, thank you for the opportunity to present remarks to the Common Core Task Force on behalf of Clarkson University. I'm Kelly Cheesem, Vice President for External Relations. To provide context for your panel, I'll share just a few pieces of information. Clarkson is a private, nationally ranked research university in New York State with students in the municipalities of Potsdam, Beacon, Manhattan, and soon to include Schenectady, as well as online. New Yorkers make up 65% of our student body. Clarkson student body is also 80+% enrolled in STEM disciplines. We are known also for our outstanding access to education for all students who are qualified to enroll. 1 in 3 students come from a household that makes less than $40,000 per year. 1 in 4 from a household that makes less than $20,000 per year. Speaking to the supply of potential students qualified to enroll, schools like Clarkson find ourselves on the front line of the effects of an education system that does not prepare enough students in New York State for the challenges of college and work, and especially in the STEM disciplines that has the demand of industry and corporate partners. This is why we strongly endorse the Common Core standards and Common Core aligned assessments advocated by the governor. Stats on the growing skills gap are widely known. According to the National Skills Coalition, middle skilled jobs, those require that more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree account for 51% of the state's labor market, but only 39% of workers trained at this level. Based on our own educational assessments that Clarkson offers all incoming students to help them prepare for college coursework, we had nearly 40% of the first-year class that needed extra summer classes in preparatory education and math to get them ready for their first year. Our fall career fair had 170+ employers looking for people to start STEM careers. We have more than a 95% placement rate of students in the first year after graduation. While they're successful at recruiting at Clarkson, they need more talent than we can offer. They also find critical skills in time management, critical thinking, and showing up for work on time. We are at a crossroads, and it's critical that we continue implementing the core standards while making reasonable improvements to ensure that teachers have access to the professional resources they need to teach to the new standards, test questions that are age and grade level appropriate, and attention to ELL and special needs students. Backing away from high education standards and quality assessments instead of taking steps to improve and implement would be a disservice to the approximately 6 out of 10 high school graduates who are unprepared for college and the world of work. We have a great college and university system in New York State that is ready to prepare to teach the next generation of leaders and to give people the skills they need. We know they're struggling to fill open positions. Supporters of opt-out fail to consider 3 very basic questions. How will students fare in college and work if they are not challenged during their K-12? How will we prepare students for careers that demand rigorous innovation to keep America competitive and solve world challenges? How would a student's future employer respond if that student chose to simply opt out of an annual evaluation? We have an opportunity to improve what has been a rocky start. As a member of New York State's Business Council, Clarkson endorses the recommendations that came from their collaborative effort. Commission an independent review of state assessments, ensure that teacher certification requirements are strongly aligned with standards, encourage districts to reduce the number of local assessments, provide further professional development for teachers and principals, and increase parent understanding of assessments through fact sheets and forums. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak to the Common.
My name is Christy Bezrutczyk. I'm a mother of a 9-year-old daughter, 4th grade, and attends Beaumont Elementary in the Plattsburgh City School District in Clinton County. I'm also a teacher. I've been an educator for 18 years, and I've been working in the early intervention preschool world. I'm also a business owner of 2 early education agencies, and tonight I'm here as a mother. I brought my daughter with me because the 7 to 9 time is a little inconvenient for families, and I didn't want her to be with a caregiver until 10:30 or 11 this evening, but I do appreciate the time to be able to speak out for my daughter and for all children. So tonight I'm here for the same reason you're here, as a Common Core Task Force member. I am here because there are some serious problems with Common Core. We've been knowing about these problems, you've heard these problems since 2010. We've all worked to address these problems to different task forces, to different forums, different listening meetings. We've sent countless emails, made countless phone calls. You've received letters from the New York State School Board Association, all in New York State. In New York State, they did a vote in October, and they also agree there are some serious problems with Common Core. We've also received a letter from the New York State School Superintendents, the Council for School Superintendents, and we had multiple North Country superintendents sign that letter, as well as multiple superintendents from across our state, again stating the concerns about Common Core. And I won't get into all of those problems because I'm sure you've heard them over and over and over again. I won't go into the testing, into the teacher evaluation system, the data privacy problems, the concerns I have about my daughter. I see these problems every single day in my profession, and I see these problems at home. As a K-12 dual certified special education teacher, I am Googling her homework assignments. Does that make me ineffective? I graduated from SUNY Plattsburgh in 1998, and I do have a master's degree in special education. I know what task analysis is, and I know how to teach children with special needs, but I can't teach my 4th grade daughter without the help of the internet. There's a problem with Common Core. There's also a problem when we see increased anxiety in young children because they're fearful of missing school when they're sick because of the work that they have to catch up on due to being ill because of Common Core. I need to just bring up one point, and that is, I know the Common Core Task Force is here to reboot the system. If we had a batch of contaminated food, would we still be feeding that batch of contaminated food until we were able to discover where the contamination came from and where the problem was? Would we try to fix the problem and still continue to serve that to our children every day? No. We would stop it, and we would stop feeding our children and then we would fix the problem. With Common Core, we are continuing to poison our children and our teachers on a daily basis. And I'm here to speak for my child and for all children and for educators because Common Core doesn't need to be tweaked, it needs to be terminated.
My name is Tim Butler, and I'm the proud parent of 3 children who go to public school. I am in my 20th year of teaching. I'm also a 5th grade teacher. I'm going to start by telling you what I did today in class. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we spent the majority of our day today learning about the importance of Veterans Day. We talked about honor flight, we talked about Tombs of the Unknown Soldier in Washington, D.C., and we also wrote letters to wounded soldiers at Walter Reed Medical Center. This is what education should be, in my opinion. But what's going to happen next year, when 50% of my evaluation is based on test scores, is items like this aren't going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test prep all the time so that my children have a future so I can be employed. The woman from Clarkson was speaking about STEM, and I thought about that. One of the first things to go is science and social studies instruction. And you can ask anybody who's here that is in education, that is definitely the first thing to go. The tests themselves, of course, are flawed. Last year, I wasn't supposed to, but I read a 6th grade test that was written at a postgraduate level. I know because I did a readability on it. it sickens me that I'm going to be judged on such unfair items. I agree that we should throw out the whole Common Core system and reboot and move on. Thank you.
Woo! Nice job.
Good evening. My name is Hathaway. I'm a teacher. I'm a parent. I'm also the president of the Mullen Federation of Teachers. And I'm here to speak against rebooting the Common Core. I'm here to speak about the idea of replacing it with something that actually is a set of standards that is appropriate for the kids. And I'm sure that, as has been stated a number of times now, we've all heard about how it's developmentally inappropriate. We've heard about the copywriting issues with it. We've heard about standardization and the problems with that. How curriculum is included. It's not just a set of standards. There's pedagogy involved. But the broader problem with the Common Core standards is that at its root, it is a basis disrespect for teachers and for educators in a very general sense. Educators were not involved in the process of creating the Common Core standards. And it's my experience that if things are flawed from the outset, they're probably going to be flawed in the end. And that seems to be what we have here. The development included individuals that did not have a background in education. And we're talking about the idea of whether or not these are college-ready standards. The fact that students are not always college-ready in any particular facet comes from much more than what they do or do not do in a school building. There are many other facets to life aside from what they experience in a school building that impact whether or not they are going to be effective. So there are academic skills versus developmental appropriateness and readiness. One of the issues that I find interesting is that if you look at a committee that was created called the Validation Committee after the standards had been created, there were 2 individuals on that committee that had any background knowledge in education, that had any content specialty at all. One of those individuals being a woman named Sandra Stosky. She was a lifelong teacher and administrator in Massachusetts. She also was involved in Massachusetts at their state level Commission of Education. And she actually was involved in creating the Massachusetts standards that were in place for a 20-year stint and had placed them at the top of the ranks in terms of national standings and in terms of international standings at some points in time. She on this committee, along with the math specialist, both refused to sign off on the standards in a validation committee that included only 2 content specialists, and the rest of the committee were made up of for-profit individuals that represented Pearson, that represented McGraw-Hill, and other agencies that could make money off of these standards. And this is what we're putting our children through. We're putting our children through a system that now is based on how we can get companies to make more money. When we have content specialists that have now said very clearly, again and again, that these standards are flawed. And I would challenge you to please look into Sandra Stosky's statements. She has testified around the country, and I would actually ask that you please bring her to testify in front of your commission as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Kollmer. I'm a parent of a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, and I'm also an educator. I've witnessed how the Common Core affects my own children, and I've also administered state exams to special needs students. Common Core is hurting our children. Common Core standards are developmentally inappropriate because they assume that all children develop at the same rate. They devalue the importance of play, art, music, science, and physical education. Skills like using data and reasoning do not match how young children think or learn, and result in students being exposed to dull, dry lessons which sap the enjoyment of learning. Experts tell us that young children learn best through hands-on, play-based activities, and that they need lessons that foster social emotional development. But Common Core leaves little time for such experiences. Common Core math is especially difficult. I have watched my own child scribble out answers and break down in tears over Common Core math homework. Students are expected to make abstract conjectures about problems and plan their solutions before they learn the necessary math skills. Child development specialists tell us that abstract thinking does not develop in most children until the age of 11. These standards were written without the input of any early childhood educators. The result is an entire generation of children who hate math and have lost their self-confidence. And then there are the high-stakes tests, with questions that are grade levels beyond the capability of students. Special needs students are especially hurt. I have witnessed students with IEPs cry, shake, and run out of the testing room, red-faced and sweating. Their experiences can only be characterized as traumatic. These students are labeled as failures instead of learning that they can succeed. The same can be said of children from impoverished communities and our English language learners. These are the children who suffer the most. In fact, the tests are engineered to produce failure. Cut scores are adjusted after scoring, guaranteeing that the majority fail. They have no direct effect on improving instruction because teachers cannot see the tests and there is no item analysis provided. The Common Core has sacrificed this benefit of testing so that testing companies can improve their profit bottom line by recycling questions. The gag order also makes it difficult to criticize poorly written questions. The teacher evaluation law has further affected our children as teachers fear for their careers and are forced to spend even more time on test prep. This is crowding out creative and authentic instruction and formative assessment. The emphasis on nonfiction and close reading leads teachers to believe that fiction should be abandoned and has produced a generation of children who believe reading is only for tests. Our children are losing their love of reading as well as their imaginations. My suggestions for change would be to immediately return to testing only in grades 4 and 8 and not tie the results of those tests to teacher evaluation. I would also ask for a return to pre-Common Core state standards, which were highly praised and developmentally appropriate because they were created by educators. And please keep first in your mind that our children are more than a test score.